Hello, good evening. Happy Black History Month. And happy Family Day for those in Ontario and parts of Canada. Welcome to the Smart Investing Show with Alton Brooks. Tonight, we will talk about social enterprises with the president of the Jamaican Canadian Association, ADAOMA PATTERSON. But first, before doing so, let's take a short review of last week's happenings in the stock market. Most notably, which was the explosion of some of the cannabis/marijuana stocks on the market. This happened primarily due to a couple of analysts stating that these stocks were a little bit cheap and they had good value. And many times when an analyst says certain things, the market reacts. And after saying that these stocks were cheap, many stocks exploded on the scene, going up 50%, some even 100%. Now, when we look at cannabis-related stocks, some people are on the fence on whether you'd classify these as ethical investments. Ethical investments are basically, or ethical stocks, or those companies that trade in that space, are those companies that provide some sort of benefit to the business that they do to the world. You could argue that cannabis operations provide health benefits. They provide benefits to people who use it and provide lots of medicinal type uses as well. So you could generally or technically qualify them as an ethical investment. Now, for those looking to jump into this area right now, be careful because a lot of these stocks are elevated due to the fact that they've done so well since last week. Many companies have started seeing that there is a responsibility to having some sort of ethical blend to what they do. Many have started utilizing their platform to benefit their community. For instance, you may have a company selling running shoes, and they say, well, for every shoe that we sell, we will plant a tree, which will help the climate, for example. Or you may have a company that sells beer and says, for every can of beer or every case of beer we sell, we'll give 20 cents to a homeless shelter. Corporations are starting to branch out into the ethical world, into a space where they show that they care about their communities. There are also organizations that are actually in the business of doing good things as their mandate. And this takes us to nonprofits and charities who, due to COVID-19 and other scenarios that are happening in that space, have to find new ways of generating revenue. And part of doing this is going into the sphere of social enterprises. To break that down for us tonight, we have invited and are very happy to have the president of the Jamaican Canadian Association. Her name is Ms. ADAOMA PATTERSON. Ms. ADAOMA PATTERSON is a very experienced individual in the nonprofit and public spaces. She is a diversity fellow. She is a 2020 recipient of a top 100 accomplished women in Canada awardee. We applaud that. She's also currently manager of a Peel reduction strategy in the region of Peel, and she will describe for us what exactly that is, because it's a very big title that, unfortunately, it's a very long one, and I will let her explain some of the things that she's involved in as far as managing that Peel reduction strategy. So welcome, Ms. ADAOMA PATTERSON. How are you?
I'm very well. Thank you, Alton. Happy Family Day. Happy Black History Month.
Happy Family Day to
I'm excited to be here. This is great.
So tell us a little bit about what you do by day, because it's a very big title. You have a lot of responsibilities. So I'll allow you just to tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. So, by day, most people know me as the JCA president, as you've said, but by day, I actually work for the region of Peel. So that's one of the largest regional governments in the province. Peel region is Caledon, Brampton, and Mississauga, and that is approximately 1.5 million people. And so in my day job, I am the manager of poverty reduction and community engagement, which simply means that we focus, and my team focuses on working with community, with our stakeholders or other organizations to really address, mitigate, and reduce poverty in Peel region. And then the other part of the role is community engagement, which is just working again with our community residents and other stakeholders to make sure that residents are supported.
That is excellent. And again, we certainly enjoy having individuals of your ilk on this show. And you will share with us tonight what exactly is the social enterprise when it comes to your organization that you're the president of. But first, tell us a little bit about the Jamaican Canadian Association.
Great. So the JCA, as most people in the Greater Toronto Area know it as, is a 58-year-old organization. We will be 59 years later this year. It was founded in 1962 by a group of Jamaicans who had recently immigrated to Canada and just felt the need to come together for a variety of reasons. In terms of social, but also advocacy. There were obviously a number of inequities and racism, anti-Black racism in particular, that was occurring in the early 60s. And so these Jamaicans came together, formed the JCA to be able to support each other, support the community, and to respond to the things that they were seeing. So for 58 years, we have been doing just that. We ran a number of programs. We had a social services component of the organization, which is now CAFCAN. We separated in 2014 and created CAFCAN Social Services. And they support the community by offering programs like counseling, employment support, a range of typical traditional social service agencies. And the JCA side is focused on culture, education, building the capacity of the community, collaboration, and looking at new ways that as a Black organization, we can contribute to building the community in the Greater Toronto Area. And so, social enterprise is just one of those things.
So tell us, now that you mentioned social enterprise, what is, for the benefit of those that are watching, what is a social enterprise?
Mm-hmm. So a social enterprise, in a nutshell, in really simple terms, is just a company or organization that exists for public benefit. And so that can happen in primarily two ways, specifically when we talk about the nonprofit side of social enterprise. What you referred to when you were talking about corporations and their benefit, typically falls under the bucket of corporate social responsibility. But a social enterprise has a specific social mission, and that it exists specifically to be able to contribute to the community or give back in some way. And so again, it's kind of two aspects. So your social enterprise can, for example, hire people, maybe young people who've had contact with the criminal justice system and have difficulty finding employment. So it can offer training through actual hands-on work. Or, it can, your social enterprise can provide a service that's raising money to then go back into your nonprofit programs and services. And so typically in Ontario and Canada, when we talk about social enterprise, that's usually what people associate it with, particularly when they're run by nonprofit organizations.
That is an excellent synopsis. So from there, tell us about the journey of creating this social enterprise structure for your organization. And tell us, based on what was decided, why was that the correct decision, or why did you go that route?
Right. So for the JCA, it is a journey. The interesting thing is, in 1962, no one, I guess, was talking about a social enterprise. And over the years, the Jamaican Canadian Association has always owned its building. So when we were on DuPont Street, we were able to pay that off. And then we moved to 995 Arrow Road, where we currently are, and own 22,000 square feet. So it's a large space. We have always, as a way of supporting our programs, we have always rented the facility. And we rent the facility primarily to nonprofit organizations to have their fundraising event, to host, for example, the Afrocentric School. The Toronto District School Board's Afrocentric School would have their year-end graduation celebration. It could be a faith organization who rents it. And so this is what we are now defining as our social enterprise business. Because in a nutshell, that rental is what sustains the things that the JCA does. So that rental income goes back into things like our Saturday morning tutoring program, supporting the Caribbean Canadian seniors programming, our international students group. So all of the things that are needed and the funding that's needed to make those things thrive, those programs and initiatives thrive, we really generate that income from the hall rental business. We don't generally any longer take sort of ongoing government funding. And so we had to find a creative way to be able to do what we wanted to do in a way that is not really typical in the Black community. And so that's a little bit about the journey for our social enterprise.
Now, you have mentioned a plethora of different services and programming, from international students to seniors to other programs. What are you finding are the top two challenges that you face in sustaining these programs through the kind of environment that we're currently in?
So a couple of things. Well, one is always funding, and the not-for-profit sector, the charitable sector, ongoing sustainable core funding continues to be a challenge. It was challenging before COVID. Governments increasingly were tightening the reins with respect to funding. It is very competitive. And you spend a lot of time just sort of chasing funding. So I would say that that's one of the things. And like I mentioned before, JCA, when we separated into two organizations, one of the things we wanted to ensure is that we could find other ways of generating income to put back into our programs and not rely solely on government, different levels of government for funding. So I'd say that the two challenges, one is the ongoing sustainability, and to be able to continue to meet the growing needs. And then, of course, in our case, since COVID, we have lost all of the revenue. So the thing that we hope to use to build our social enterprise model has disappeared. And I will say that for many nonprofits who run social enterprises, they tend to be service oriented, because those are the things that are easiest to get up and running and to engage, vulnerable residents. Right. So it could be a cafe, it could be what we do, which is rent our hall. And so all of those really disappeared, right? A printing business. We all sort of paused as a result of COVID.
Right, that's very interesting. Now, I'm just trying to think of a question here in regard to that, because now you've got one entity that provides programming and another entity that provides this social enterprise structure. How do the two relate to each other? How do they come together? How do they blend? So
they blend in the purpose. So as nonprofit organizations, as you said, our purpose is to support the community in whatever way that means. So whether it's counseling or tutoring, whether it's providing space, through our commercial kitchen where training can happen, young people who, need training in culinary, that those are all really the, examples of how nonprofits, the purpose of nonprofit organizations. And again, social enterprises, when nonprofits are creating social enterprises, it is to find an alternative source of revenue to be able to fulfill that mission of giving back, supporting the community, building skills, helping people to be resilient, hopefully, with the values that we all believe in, like living wage, making sure that people when we're providing opportunities to people, that it is something that can sustain them and help them to live and grow and then move on. So the two for us at the JCA come together in that way. And it always has. We just never defined it as that. And we're still in the process of formalizing, doing a business plan, looking at a feasibility study to think about kind of the long-term growth of our hall rental social enterprise business. But we are clear. We do those things to be able to do the things that are important to us, the things that are in our bylaws and in our vision and mission, which is to support young people, youth, families, and seniors.
Well, you have definitely educated us tonight on social enterprise, charity, nonprofit. We are in conversation with ADAOMA Patterson. She is the president of the Jamaican Canadian Association. She's giving us lots of good information tonight on the business aspect of running a nonprofit. And we're going to continue this conversation after these messages. So we'll be right back on the GBKM network. Thank you.
You can officially download our free GBKM app from the App Store and the Google Play Store, okay? Now, what is the best thing about this app? Well, it is that you have all of the features from the website that is portable, in your hand, ready to use and ready to go. Now, I'm just gonna guide you through what we have available on our app right now. So here, this is the page where you can watch our live TV, our GBKM TV. You can watch live, enjoy the shows live. Now, if you go to our tabs, you can check out any shows you missed in the past shows tab, and that takes you to the past shows that have happened in the last week. And if you just scroll down, you can see those past shows in order, chronological order with their dates next to them as well. So if you've missed a show, no worries, just go to the past show tab and you can catch up on your favorite GBKM entertainment. Going back to our menus tab again, you can check out our upcoming shows so you do not miss any past shows. You can check out our breaking news section, which is our newest section as well, to learn of any breaking news within the diaspora, across the globe, all of that good stuff, so you can stay engaged and up to date on what's going on with our breaking news tab on the GBKM app, and also available on the website. And as you can see, there are other tabs there. You can listen to our live radio, our live TV. You can learn more about our on-air personalities by going to our OAP tab, all of that good stuff.
Welcome back to the Smart Investing Show with Alton Brooks on the GBKM network. We're in conversation tonight with the president of one of the largest Black organizations across Canada, the Jamaican Canadian Association. We're talking about social enterprises and how that affects the business of those organizations, especially during this time of COVID. So I'd like to welcome back the president, ADAOMA Patterson, to our show as we continue our conversation. So as I touch on COVID-19, Madam President, tell us, how has this affected, whether it be your members, your customers, or just others that you've dealt with as far as the COVID-19 situation going forward?
So, like probably all other Black organizations and other nonprofit charitable organizations, COVID kind of just shocked us immediately we had to stop gathering. In our case, in our center, I mentioned that it's 22,000 square feet, so that's a lot of space that is sitting closed and vacant. So our seniors could not gather twice a week like they were used to. Our Caribbean Canadian seniors, our Saturday morning tutoring program, both the tutors and the children and youth that participated had to obviously stop. So, it's a year in. None of us thought a year later would still be in this situation. But, we are adjusting, doing what everyone else is doing. We're on virtual, we're on Zoom and all of the other platforms. The young people, because they are doing that at school, they're now used to, it's not any easier, I would argue, but they are now used to kind of the virtual learning. Our seniors, we have been trying to get them and nudge them slowly to learn Zoom. But there are gaps, right? There are many people in our community who cannot afford, who don't have a computer, did not have a computer before this. And then, of course, internet costs, Wi-Fi costs are quite expensive, broadband. So we know that there are gaps. In terms of our business, as I mentioned, it came to a halt.
Wow.
We could say, and everyone who's been to the center knows, Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays, we really are a hub. And we call ourselves the hub of community engagement. And because if you were to visit on a weekend, you would know why. There would be a lot of activity, whether it's the tutoring program. We would have our customers setting up for their fundraising event, usually a dinner and dance or a concert, people having birthday parties or other events at the center in one of 3 halls. And so that obviously has impacted our bottom line. Our revenue, went to zero. And wow. So that's a challenge, because that is, again, what pays for the programming. We have been able to access some of the COVID relief funding that's available to charitable and nonprofit organizations. So through United Way and the Toronto Foundation, the federal government, that was why we were able to repurpose the building for our Meals to Go initiative, where we delivered hot meals for the better part of 2020. Basically, once the pandemic hit, we were providing a hot meal and having volunteers prepare it and deliver. So we managed to turn our commercial kitchen into, have it be used for something really, really positive during the pandemic. But yeah, we're looking at another year of mostly lost revenue, again, as a result of COVID. And so, of course, it's worrisome. And yes. Again, most social enterprises are in the same boat, because if you had a cleaning business or a cafe, a catering business, you're also impacted as we are.
Yeah, that's very interesting, especially when you touch upon that your social enterprise is more of a sort of a banquet hall type scenario, a hall rental scenario. You might have customers that might have booked your hall for way in advance, etc. What do you say to those customers, or what about those customers? Tell me some about them, because they sort of seemed, with the pandemic, to have suffered probably, secondary to the organization as well, and you were there to help them. So tell us about the effect on them as customers and on your customers.
Right. So I'd say about maybe 2/3 of our customers are really other organizations. So they may be a small network or a nonprofit, and they come together really to provide some benefit, usually scholarships, or a number of them will raise money for initiatives in Jamaica and in the Caribbean in particular. So, a big chunk of our business, our customers, also were in the same boat, because then they could not raise funds. They're much smaller organizations, but then they could not raise the funds to do the thing that they come together to do.
Right.
So you think about the ripple impact of that. Specifically, if you are doing a fundraising dinner or concert for students and scholarships, you aren't able to have that event. That means that those students are likely going without the scholarship, or the uniform or the books, whatever it is that they raise money for. So our customers are very loyal. Many of them, especially the nonprofit organizations, have been with us many years. They book year after year. And actually, they are booking in 2022. They've asked us whether we are starting to accept bookings for 2022 with the hope, all of us, that we'll be able to gather in those kind of numbers.
Right. And that is our hope.
Yes, and that's a hope. We had some folks who had wedding receptions planned. Obviously, they had to cancel that. We have, the center is used for funeral receptions. Again, those things could not happen. And so they understand and we understand. Early on in the pandemic, we hosted an event, a Zoom event with our customers to just check in and ask them how they were doing and how COVID was impacting them and their business. I think the other thing that's really interesting that we know, but we didn't really pay attention to is that, it's not just the people who are renting from us, but it's also those businesses it's also the secondary businesses. So you think about the caterers, the decor companies, the right. DJs, all of those, the entertainers, all of those folks, those small business owners were impacted because nonprofits could not host their regular fundraising event and have not been able to do that. And so we did check in and talked a little bit about the impact, trying to understand whether they were able to access any of the federal or provincial benefits right. and how they're faring. And so we actually look forward to checking in with them again this year, and, just to see what else is needed and how we can refer them to some of our other partners if they're not accessing the benefits that are out there.
That is terrific. And actually, I'm sure quite a few people right now might be surprised to learn that you actually have this social enterprise business. Because when we think of, social services, when we think of nonprofits and charities, we just think about the work and not necessarily about how they actually raise revenues to do the work that they do. So you're yes. probably opening a lot of eyes tonight, hearing about your social enterprise. So tell us, prior to COVID, how did you market and sell to the public and to others your social enterprise? How did people get to know about it? What was the plan previously?
So like I said, we have a lot of loyal customers. They're really our partners in many cases. The JCA Center we exist primarily on word of mouth. One of the things that as we restructure and look at an actual social enterprise model, that we plan to do is think about how to maximize the space in the non-traditional times. So most of our business occurs on the weekends. And one of the things we've identified is the opportunity to expand that rental to the weekdays, but for different reasons. So if an organization is having a meeting, needs a meeting space, then, will they consider the JCA Center? So we are sort of evolving and looking again at how to increase revenue. And we really just had to take the time while COVID has affected our business to do some of that work. So, that's kind of in a nutshell where we are at. I think the other thing that's really important, just to your earlier point about how organizations sustain themselves, when you own a building, it is a different ball game because, as a charity, you have your programs and your services, your mission. And then when you have the center, you have to find those additional ways to raise revenue because government doesn't fund that space. They don't fund you to own a space. And so you have to become very creative about how to make that work. And that go to your point, your question about how we advertise. Really, we just rely on our partners and some of our longstanding customers to just share the good news about the center and the space. As we formalize our model, we will look at alternative ways. It's obviously on the website, and people can post and comment and rate us on our Facebook page. So we will look at a more intentional marketing strategy as we expand our model.
Excellent. Well, we have about a minute left, but seeing that it is Black History Month, which kind of reminds me of the fact that, you know, as a whole, we all need to work together. And it also brings to mind, you know, thoughts of Marcus Garvey and Martin Luther King and a lot of folks who've paved the way for where we're at today. I understand that there is a Pan-African credit union that is being formed. So give us some information about that and tell us what is happening in regard to that.
Great question. Thanks for asking. So the Pan-African Credit Union Initiative, we are in an initiative right now because it is not yet, we have not received regulatory approval.
Okay.
So it may be a surprise to your listeners, your viewers, that the Jamaican Canadian Association had a credit union. And we had it for many, many years, starting in the late 60s, right through to the early 90s. And then there was another credit union after that. But since that time, there really has not been a Black owned credit union in the province of Ontario. So the JCA, the Lion Circle, and we had Canadian Black Chamber at one point also working together to try and get regulatory approval on a Pan-African credit union for the province of Ontario. It is complicated, but we have been working at it for almost 2 years. We meet weekly as a steering committee to try and get to the steps and get through the process of submitting an application to the regulator known as FSRA in Ontario, to be able to open this credit union. So we conducted a survey and had more than 1,000 respondents to our survey last year. That informed our feasibility study and is informing the work going ahead. So, you know, we hope to submit officially to the regulator this year. And to have the approval and to be able to open doors to the Pan-African Credit Union late this year or next year.
That is terrific news. And for all our watchers and listeners, get ready for that. It's something that can bring and unify a community together. Keep looking out for more information regarding that. Now,
Absolutely.
Just to finish up with the president who has graciously joined us today, ADAOMA PATTERSON. It is Black History Month. Tell us, is there anything coming up for your organization that we should be looking out for, that we can support, or that you'd like anyone to know about or to share?
Right. So those of you who know the JCA know that we do what feels like 1,000 events a year. So Black History Month is no exception. And we are hosting our annual Bunununus celebration. So prior to COVID, it was a brunch, and it is a celebration of the community and individuals, and a reflection on where we are as the Black community in Canada. And so Bunununus is a Jamaican word, and those of you who know the famous Miss Louise Bennett, she made that word very popular and famous. And Bunununus means great. You know, if you have a Bunununus time, you have a great time. And so JCA started the Bunununus brunch 20 plus years ago. And we will be having that this Sunday, our celebration online. It will be on all of our channels, our YouTube channel. You can just go to jcaontario.org to be able to see that, to be able to know and register, find out the details. We're really thrilled to be recognizing this year Dr. Upton Allen, who is an infectious disease specialist at Sick Kids Hospital, the late Denise Jones, who many know.
Yeah.
just a cultural icon, a big promoter of Jamaican reggae music, and Black music and Black presence and art in the province and in Canada. And then Letna Allen Rowe, who is a storyteller, does a lot of the Miss Lou stories and just keeping Jamaican culture alive. So it will be a Bunanunas time, and I hope that you all will join us on Sunday from 2 to 4 p.m. on all of the JCA socials. So you can see it on our YouTube channel.
And if you can just repeat one last time what those socials are and your website.
So jcaontario.org. And if you Google Jamaican Canadian Association, it actually comes up like number one. And so JCA_Ontario RR, you'll find us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And subscribe to our YouTube channel.
All right, terrific. Well, I'd like to thank you for taking the time to join us this evening. You've definitely given us a lot of information, and for those out there who are possibly running other social enterprises, you've been hopefully an encouragement to them to continue keeping on and to do what they do to affect and impact their communities. So thank you once again for joining us this evening.
You're quite welcome, and thank you for having me. It was a pleasure to be on the show, Alton. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much. So that's the end of our show today, but for next week, you have to tune in. February the 22nd. In studio will be yours truly, 30 minutes. You're going to get all the ins and outs of stock markets, insider information. You're going to find out how you can be more informed when making your trades. Everyone has got their cell phones, everyone's got the online accounts, but you don't know what to do with it. So part of what I'm going to do next week is help you to find out what you can do to make smarter trades in the market. So yours truly, otherwise known as the Wolf of Bay Street and Wall Street, will be here to show you the way. Thank you and have a wonderful evening.
You can officially download our free GBKM app from the App Store and the Google Play Store, okay? Now, what is the best thing about this app? Well, it is that you have all of the features from the website that is portable, in your hand, ready to use and ready to go. Now, I'm just gonna guide you through what we have available on our app right now. So here, this is the page where you can watch our live TV, our GBKM TV. You can watch live, enjoy the shows live. Now, if you go to our tabs, you can check out any shows you missed in the past shows tab, and that takes you to the past shows that have happened in the last week. And if you just scroll down, you can see those past shows in order, chronological order with their dates next to them as well. So if you've missed a show, no worries, just go to the past show tab and you can catch up on your favorite GBKM entertainment. Going back to our menus tab again, you can check out our upcoming shows so you do not miss any past shows. You can check out our breaking news section, which is our newest section as well, to learn of any breaking news within the diaspora, across the globe, all of that good stuff, so you can stay engaged and up to date on what's going on with our breaking news tab on the GBKM app, and also available on the website. And as you can see, there are other tabs there. You can listen to our live radio, our live TV. You can learn more about our on-air personalities by going to our OAP